Once upon a time, in the heart of a sun-drenched jungle, lived a wise old turtle named Teemo. Teemo was content with his life. His days were filled with basking in the warm sunlight, and evenings were spent with friends sharing stories and jokes. But there was one thing that bothered him. You see, the jungle was situated on one side of a wide, deep river, and Teemo lived on its bank, dreaming of the forest on the other side. He had never been there, but the thought of exploring it filled him with excitement. Now, Teemo is slow and weak. As much as he wanted to swim across the river, he knew he couldn't. Every time he started, the current would push him back, and the other animals would laugh and taunt him. "You can never cross the river, silly turtle," they'd say. "You are too slow and weak. Why even try?" Their words hurt, and so Teemo gave up trying and spent his life stuck on one side of the river, longing to see the other. One day, Teemo was enjoying his lunch when a family of beavers approached him. Teemo said, "The father beaver, we need your help. The river has overflowed. Our dam has broken, and our home is gone. We need to get to higher ground before the water reaches us." Teemo looked at the raging river and at the beavers, their eyes filled with fear. For a moment, he hesitated. He knew he couldn't let them down, but he also knew he couldn't swim in that strong current. Then he remembered what the other animals had said. "You can't do it, Teemo. You're too slow and weak." Maybe they were right. Maybe he shouldn't even try. But looking at the desperate beavers, he knew he had to do something. So he said, "Hop on my back, little ones, and hold on tight. I'll take you across the river as fast as I can." The beavers thanked him and climbed on his back. One by one, they made their way into the water. At first, the current was strong and it almost knocked them off course. But Teemo was determined. He kept moving forward, battling the current, inch by inch, beak by beak. Finally, they reached the other side. The beavers thanked Teemo again and again before rushing away to safety. Just then, a monkey came running up to Teemo. "Teemo!" he cried. "The flood has destroyed my home! Can you help me get to a tree on the other side of the river?" "Of course," said Teemo, and without hesitation, he began swimming. This time, the current wasn't as strong, and soon Monkey and Turtle were on the other side. Next, a family of otters, then a badger, a deer, and many others. Each animal had a desperate plea, and each time Teemo never refused. With each trip, the animals looked at him with new respect, knowing he was braver than he looked. Yet no matter how many times he crossed the river, the thought of finally being on the other side didn't get any less exciting. After the last animal had been saved, Teemo turned to go back, but then an owl, perched on a nearby branch, hooted. "Well done, Teemo. You have saved all these animals, and you deserve a Medal of Honor." Teemo blushed, surprised. "Oh, it was nothing," he said. "I just couldn't stand by and watch them suffer." "But you did more than that," said the owl. "You faced your fears and you helped others. That takes courage and kindness. You are indeed worthy of praise." The owl paused, then added, "And don't forget, you've finally seen the forest on the other side of the river." At that moment, Teemo realized that the owl was right. All this time, he'd been so focused on helping the other animals that he had realized he'd accomplished his dream of seeing the other side of the river. But now, exhausted but happy, he looked around him. The trees and plants were unfamiliar. He didn't recognize any of the animals. It was unlike anything he'd ever seen before. Then he noticed something that made his heart sink. In all the chaos, he hadn't noticed that the river had receded. Now, the water was no longer overflowing, and the only way to get back home was by swimming against the current. He looked back at the shore he'd been on and sighed. He'd never made it to the forest. Instead, he'd ended up on a small island in the middle of the river. Dejected, Teemo started swimming. The current was strong, and after a while, he felt like giving up. But then he remembered the words of the wise old owl. He had faced his fears and helped others. He couldn't let himself get scared now. Taking a deep breath, Teemo swam with all his might. Slowly, he began to make progress. Inch by inch, he moved upstream, determined to get home. The other animals who'd been rescued watched him and cheered him on. They'd learned from Teemo that day that sometimes the greatest strength comes from the smallest packages. Finally, after what seemed like hours, Teemo saw the familiar bank of his home. With a last burst of energy, he reached the shore and collapsed on the dry land. Panting, but happy to be home. He looked back at the island. It was getting dark, and the other animals were probably settling in for the night. Then he heard a voice. "Well done, Timo! You showed great bravery and kindness today. I'm proud to call you my friend." It was the beaver family. The rest of the animals came out of the bushes and behind the trees. They'd all come to thank him. "Thank you, Timo," said the monkey. "We couldn't have made it without you." "You were so brave," added the otter. "And kind," said the deer. All the animals praised him until the sky was filled with stars. That night, Timo slept under the soft glow of the moon. The river was calm, and the wind was still. He was tired from the day's events, but he felt good knowing he'd helped his friends. As he closed his eyes, he thought about the owl's words. He'd faced his fears and helped others. Maybe the other animals were wrong. Maybe he wasn't too weak or slow after all. Maybe with courage and kindness, he could do anything. From that day on, nothing was the same. Timo was no longer the timid turtle who thought he could only dream of the forest on the other side of the river. He was a hero. The animals no longer laughed at him. Instead, they respected and admired him. As for the river, well, it remained a part of Timo's life, but it didn't hold the same fears for him anymore. He knew that no matter how strong the current was, he could face it. And if he needed to, he could always count on his friends for help. After all, that's what friends are for. The next morning, Timo awoke to the sound of drums and cheers. All the animals were gathered near the riverbank, and a banner proclaiming Timo, hero of the jungle, fluttered in the breeze. Timo blushed, embarrassed by all the attention. He was just a simple turtle who liked basking in the sun and telling stories. He didn't want to be a hero. But the other animals insisted, and so Timo found himself being paraded around the jungle on the back of a tiger. As he rode on his makeshift throne, Timo couldn't help but smile. He was surrounded by his friends, and for the first time, he felt like he truly belonged. He'd faced his fears and helped others, and now he was being celebrated for his bravery and kindness. From that day on, Timo continued to live in the jungle, always ready to lend a helping hand or flipper to those in need. He never forgot the lessons he'd learned during the flood, and he often shared his story with the younger animals, teaching them that even the smallest creature can be a hero.